The first not guilty verdict for a January 6th protester, Matthew Martin, found not guilty on all counts just a little while ago in Washington, D.C. He said he was led into the Capitol by the cops, and the judge believed him. Here he is on January 6th. Does he look like he's hurting anybody? Does he look like he's breaking anything? No, it looks like he's just standing there with the camera, and the judge believed him. Judge Trevor McFadden said he found it plausible that Mr. Martin believed the police had let him in and thus had not knowingly gone into the building improperly. He was acquitted on 4 misdemeanors. He could have gone to jail. So we've been saying this all along, and we've actually seen the evidence. You have too. Video evidence of cops just standing there letting people inside. Why is that? Who told them to let them inside? These are the questions we need answered. I am very pleased that Matthew Martin has been found not guilty. We'll be speaking with his lawyer in just a little bit. In the meantime, the invasion of America continues. Right now, with all the stuff that's going on everywhere, the ridiculous scene at the White House, sometimes it's easy to forget. They want us to forget, actually, that people are streaming into this country unfettered. No problem. Here they are, new batch. This is, I believe, the day before yesterday. And things are actually, it seems like, facilitated for them by the federal government. First, they get the opportunity to change into a new set of clothes. And shortly after this, they might be issued a cell phone. Yes, a cell phone by the federal government. Handing out cell phones. We want to keep in touch with you. It's true. And the White House confirms it. They say it's about, well, listen to this.
Our team in Texas is saying that you guys are starting to give smartphones to border crossers, hoping that they'll use the phones to check in or to be tracked. Which part of that is supposed to deter people from crossing illegally into the states?
Well, I think you of all people, since you've asked me a range of questions on this topic over time, would recognize that we need to take steps to ensure that we know where individuals are and we can track and we can check in with them. The Alternatives to Detention program is just what we utilize, has 3 unique forms of technology to monitor participants enrolled in the program. Telephonic is just one of them.
Telephonic. All right. Knock yourself out. You can do a lot of things with the smartphone other than check in with the government, oh, by the way. So after they get their phone, after they get a change of clothes, it's off to the airport, and then quite possibly a city near you. I know it's been happening in a city near me, Westchester County, in the middle of the night. These flights full of illegal immigrants just showing up one after the next, and nobody seems to have a problem with it in this Democrat-controlled government. In fact, they like it, and they pretend this is for holistic reasons.
We also have to be honest about what's happening at the border. We have people showing up with asylum claims from places like Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Brazil, people fleeing regimes where they are feeling persecution, coming here to make asylum claims.
This guy's very naive. I sense that he's very naive. He can't be that naive. He's not that naive. He's up to something. They all are. The globalists, they want the free labor. And the Democrats, like him, they want the votes. They want the body so they can say they vote in a certain way. Governor Greg Abbott has an interesting solution. He just made this announcement today, and I am all for it. Listen.
Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C. We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border. To get that going, I'm going to send a letter to Chief Nim Kidd with the Texas Division of Emergency Management, who will be in charge of this operation.
Making it official, Governor Abbott, great idea. Let's stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I had a theory that Barack Obama was really running things, and I guess it's not a joke. Did you see yesterday? Very much large and in charge. There he is with Biden in the background, definitely in the background. And it was a new, more relaxed, kind of full of himself, even fuller of himself than he normally is. Something about the post-presidency billions that really agree with this guy. Take a look at this and compare him now to when he was president. There's a certain distinction. He was more glued to the teleprompter. He wasn't as relaxed. You see the difference here? Now, what has happened? It's a small stylistic thing, but he basically gives speeches all the time now with no cameras around, and he's experimenting. He's a little bit looser. It was awkward, though, right? You saw it. Have you seen it by now? Let's watch. Oh, man, he is blowing off Joe. It's awkward. It's kind of sad. But the power, the soul of that room is not Joe Biden. Everybody can see it. And then you see begging him to come in this direction. Please, I'm the president. Kinda, right? Sorta. And then this. The cool kids are talking, and they don't want to have anything to do with Joe. It's kind of funny. I've been there, by the way. I've been the odd man out before. I know what it's like. And for it to be happening to the President of the United States, that's pretty absurd. It's almost impossible for it to happen to the President of the United States. So I don't think it actually is. I think Barack Obama has more authority, more clout, more ability to get things done, certainly get favors done, than Joe Biden, who is compromised not only here at home, but overseas. So where does that bring us right now? One crime too many. They're not going to get away with it. They're not. You heard about Mr. Sussman. You may not know who he is. It's interesting. If he were a Republican, Paul Manafort, Michael Cohen, Michael Flynn, they became household names when they were in trouble, but you never hear about Michael Sussman. Why is that? Well, he is the one who helped create this fiction.
Donald Trump is an unwitting agent of Russia's Vladimir Putin.
There was collusion between the Trump campaign and Putin.
The possibility of collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign.
It's explosive new claims about the president-elect's ties to Russia. The new investigation.
And the FBI Director James Comey confirming for the first time the investigation into the Trump campaign's ties to Russia.
All right, so you know about that, and you know how it turned out. It was all a great big hoax, and this guy Sussman seemed to be a prime mover of the hoax. A lawyer working for Perkins Coie, doing a lot of work for the Hillary Clinton campaign. So on company time, campaign time, law firm time, he assembled a bunch of phony stuff that seemed to connect the Trump campaign to Russian computers. Now, it was phony. I'll show you how it was phony in just a moment. And he calls up the FBI. He actually texts the head lawyer at the FBI. Look at the text message. Now, we have this because Michael Durham just made a motion in court. Jim, it's Michael Sussman. I have something time-sensitive and sensitive I need to discuss. Do you have availability for a short meeting tomorrow? I'm coming on my own, not on behalf of a client or company. Want to help the Bureau? Thanks. How about that, huh? Just a guy, just a citizen. I'm coming on my own, not on behalf of a client or company. Want to help? Well, everybody seemed to be paying this guy, Perkins Coie, the Clinton campaign, tech executive, and this guy should have known better. James Baker, the general counsel of the FBI, he didn't know this guy was a professional gun for hire? He thought he was investigating Donald Trump on his own time? What, in the basement next to the model trains? No, of course not. They had to know. Anyway, right after the meeting, which happens the next day, he calls in his lawyers. So many lawyers in Washington, right? And they all take notes. And it's noted that this guy Sussman said again he was not working for anybody. Two people make note of that Baker tells them, I'm working alone. I don't have anybody. This is Sussman. It's just me. Don't worry about it. Everything's cool. Thou protest too much. Is that how it goes? And you got this guy, Jaffe, the tech executive. Now, He's a Democrat. He really wants in with the Clinton people. He's talking to Sussman. He's coming up with some crazy stuff that doesn't make sense. That the Trump computers are talking to Russia. And it's outlandish, he says. It's unusual. But his own team tell him this is not outlandish. This is not unusual. It actually looks like we're trying to set up Trump. Now, this was in the Durham filing. Take a look at this email from one of the researchers on this project. A big email to the whole team. Let's for a moment think of the best case scenario where we are able to show somehow that communication exists between Trump and Russia, because it doesn't at this point, right? How do we plan to defend against the criticism that this is not spoofed UDP traffic we are observing? All right. Now, the UDP part, that confuses people. It's very technical, but spoofed, we know what spoof is, right? That this is not phony baloney stuff. The people inside this they're scratching their heads. There is no answer to that. And it goes on as follows. Let's assume again that they are not smart enough to refute our best case scenario. You see, these tech guys, huh? You do realize that we will have to expose every trick we have in our bag to even make a very weak association. It goes on to say, we cannot technically make any claims that would fly in the face of public scrutiny. That's something, huh? The only thing that drives us at this point is that we just do not like Trump. This will not fly in the eyes of public scrutiny. Folks, I am afraid we have tunnel vision. He was actually a little bit too pessimistic. He expected too much from the media. Public scrutiny? If it's anti-Trump, publish. Don't worry about it. We just gotta stop Trump. That was the name of the game. No one was checking this stuff. It's kind of fascinating. And the fantasy, right? It just took hold. And this kind of rhetoric, it really, to this day, it smeared Trump. Totally unfairly, but there are people who don't follow the news very much who are scared of Trump because of these lies. And because of these lies.
Now on MSNBC, several new allegations this morning about an investigation into Donald Trump's campaign and ties to Russia.
His very explosive charge that there was coordination between Donald Trump and the Russian government.
This remarkable detail about Donald Trump and the Russian government.
Whether Donald Trump himself is just a puppet for the Kremlin.
See, it doesn't really matter what the specifics were. Trump, Russia, puppet, Putin, all that stuff just lobbed together. And ultimately, it's stuck. For some people, it sticks. And now some people just will never see him fairly. And that's pretty sad. Here's more proof, actually, of how the system is totally kind of stacked against us. You know about these guys, right? Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Michael Cohen, my least favorite on the list, by the way. Those other guys are fine. You know all about them, but Michael Sussman you never heard of. Michael Sussman is alleged to have done something very, very serious. Bannon, Manafort, Stone, no. They just persecuted them because they were on Team Trump. Sussman, we should all know. We should. That's not the way it works in Washington, huh? And not only do they come after the guys who work for Trump and for Trump himself, but his family. I'll never forget the footage of Donald Trump Jr. being dragged to Capitol Hill. I mean, look at this, huh? He wasn't charged. He did nothing wrong. You know, he was an international businessman decades before his father entered politics, huh? And meanwhile, Hunter Biden is literally sitting pretty in sunny California, but not for much longer, I suspect. When we come back, we will meet the lawyer for Matthew Martin, newly exonerated. All he did was enter the building, and the judge said the cops probably let him in. We'll be right back. So you're looking at Matthew Martin. He's from New Mexico, and he was there on January 6th in the middle of it all. Here's a picture of him inside the Capitol. You see him circled? Hey, notice He's not breaking anything. He's not hurting anybody. And he said he was let in by the cops. And a judge ruled today that the guy he's not guilty. Not guilty on all counts. Acquitted. All of this, unlawfully entering restricted buildings, innocent. Impeding government access, business, innocent. Disruptive conduct in the Capitol, innocent. Demonstrating in Capitol buildings, innocent. Judge Trevor N. McFadden made the ruling today. It was a judge trial, 2-day trial. I would like to bring in the lawyer. First, congratulate him, Dan Cron, attorney for Matthew Martin. Congratulations, great work. How are you, sir?
Thank you, and I'm doing very well.
And your client, how is he feeling?
Very relieved. It's been a long odyssey, and we're happy to have it behind us.
So, by the way, before we get into the nitty-gritty here, a judge, it wasn't a jury, a judge. Can you explain why it was just a judge and not a jury that ruled here?
Well, certainly. We waived a jury. This was a case where it was not only very fact-oriented, but there were a lot of legal complications and a lot of legal interplay with the facts. And so we felt that someone who was trained in the law would best be able to meld those two factors together. And so we decided to try the case in front of Judge McFadden because we thought a sharp legal mind would better be able to not be guided by emotion, but rather be guided by the law and the facts.
Well, that seems to have happened here. Judge McFadden, I'm reading from a report here, he said he found it plausible that your client believed that the police had let him in and then had not knowingly gone into the building improperly. And I think that defense can be waged by almost everybody who was there. Now, I want to show you this, and I'm not sure where your client was in relation to this corridor, but this is some footage from January 6th, and you can see police officers just standing on either side, seeming almost to welcome them. And we've also seen the selfies that some of the cops were taking. So I would imagine this was part of your case. I mean, the cops were letting people in left and right?
Well, I think that these cases are very fact-specific from person to person. And so in Matt's case, basically what had happened is that when first of all, he was on the east side of the Capitol, and the experience that people had on the east side was very different from the experience they had on the west side. The west side of the Capitol was where the violence occurred, and the east side did not have that. And so Matt didn't even know about all of that violence until after the fact, when he started watching news accounts. He made his way up the center steps on the east side, where the doors lead into the rotunda, and there was a very large crowd there. The crowd started moving, and so he just went with the flow of the crowd towards the door. And by the time he got there, one of the things that was fortunate for us is that we were able to get the TV, the closed circuit TV footage that showed people entering the door, and then we were able to zoom in. And you
saw him, and you found your client not doing anything. And forgive me, I have to jump in. The footage that you mentioned, some folks, there's a lot more footage than we have access to. How hard was it for you to get that? It seems to me it shouldn't have been hard at all. And there's a lot more footage that the public hasn't seen. Why is the government being so, I'd like to say, evasive, so difficult about this?
I don't know the answer to that. All I can tell you is that we had to wade through and try to isolate from 27,000 videos that were made in these massive
needle in a haystack. Needle in a haystack. Fair enough.
Well, yeah, it was. It took us a long time to isolate the proper cameras.
Dan, can I ask you this? Now looking back, your client is acquitted. He's exonerated, no longer in trouble. Are you handling any other January 6th defendants?
No.
Okay. So do you think it should have gotten this far? I mean, it seems to me like a lot of people obviously did not hurt anybody, break anything. We saw cops waving people in. I think I can make the case that he should not have been put through all this. He had to turn himself in back in April of last year. I'm sure you're a great lawyer. You're probably on the expensive side, and that's good. So should it ever have gotten this far?
I was surprised that Matt was charged based on his conduct, and also if you juxtapose his conduct with what was going on the West Side, I frankly thought that it would be a better use of resources to concentrate on those cases as opposed to Matt's.
Well, Dan Cron, I think you're an excellent attorney and great manner, too. And you obviously made some great decisions here and you did some fantastic work. Dan Cron, C-R-O-N. Look him up if you're ever in trouble. Dan, we appreciate it. And do me a favor, give our best to your client, Matthew Martin, okay? We'll be right back.